Hi, I'm Jeanne Fiorini. Thanks for joining the Tarot Works Tarot Tip Series. This is Tarot Tip number 9, and this time we're going to address something that is prevalent in the world of tarot reading, even for people who've read cards for 20 years. That's the notion of good cards and bad cards. The tarot tip of this week is there is no such thing as a good card or a bad card. There are cards that we might not want to get. There are cards that we might not want to see, but there really isn't such a thing as a good card or a bad card. It's important as we develop as individuals to learn how to use all of the situations, all of the abilities at our disposal in the right time, in the right measure. So sometimes it's the wise thing to speak up, and sometimes it's the wise thing to keep quiet. Sometimes we need to take action, and sometimes we need to be still. Sometimes we need to get involved, sometimes we need to stay out of it. So you get the point. There isn't a good or a bad, a right or a wrong. It's what will serve me in this situation. So we're going to take a look at a couple of examples. Traditional cards that we might think of as good cards, and cards that we might think of automatically as bad cards, and show how each one could have an opposite side to them. So let's take a look at those examples. Let's start with this Nine of Pentacles. This is the card that pretty much everyone might say when it comes up on the table, oh, I like that card. And it does show somebody who's very solid, secure, we might say identified with their work. They have that very luxurious gown on. But let's say some new creative energy wants to come in for that person. That Nine of Pentacles is so grounded, so successful, so secure that it might not want to let go of those things in order to embark on some new adventure. So in this case, that Nine of Pentacles, even though it's solid and secure, could be a hindering force towards some new development, new creativity, new adventures, something like that. Let's take a look at the Ten of Cups. That one comes on the table. We see the rainbow. Oh, it's a beautiful card. That's a good card. But let's say, so the card shows happiness, contentment, a sense of community, a sense of connection with others. This can be very warm. It can be very enveloping. But let's say we really need solitude. Let's say that we really need a time of introspection or personal reflection. That Ten of Cups, with all of its activity and all of its connections and all of its warmth and all of its responsibilities, might run counter to the needs of the individual. So we have to always hold open the possibility that the Ten of Cups might have a stifling effect or too much attachment to what other people want and need from us, just as an example. Let's take another, what we might think of as a good card, a positive card. Here we have the Empress. The Empress is very much the nurturer, the person who takes care of others, takes good care of herself. Traditionally thought of as a mother card, both small m and capital M, mother. So it does have very much a nurturing attitude. It's got a very kind of triangular situation on the card there. That's somebody who's very grounded and very, sometimes I think of a chicken sitting on her nest. But let's say that that mothering energy is restricting or holding back some sort of independent thinking or some sort of radical way of moving through the world, or even somebody with a different opinion. Sometimes the stay-at-home, grounded, again connected responsibility of the Empress can run in a different direction or have different demands on us than independence, idealism, high-mindedness. The Empress is very grounded. That Queen of Swords is very much in the air. So that high ideal kind of idea. So we can see with those short examples how potentially, quote, good cards could also have negative aspects. Let's look at the other side of the coin. And take a look at what we might think of as bad cards. Here we have the Eight of Swords. We see somebody tied up. That card comes up on the table, and most times, unless people are very familiar with the tarot, they grimace. They don't like to see the look of that. But the beauty of this card is that it tells us where our problem is. Our problem is in the swords. It's in our perception of something. So the Eight of Swords can be aided, or aided and abetted, if you wanted to say it that way, by the Magician. We could say that the Magician is creative thinking. It could be an antidote for the Eight of Swords. So rather than being a negative card saying, Eight of Swords, that you're stuck or you're limited or you have a very big problem, really what the card could be saying is, if you try a creative solution or take a different perspective on the thing, you probably will no longer feel stuck. So that's a card with a silver lining, that Eight of Swords. Let's take this Ten of Wands. We see somebody very burdened, somebody who's, I often look at that card and think it gives me a little bit of a backache. Somebody with a lot of pressure, somebody who's been in something for the long haul. The positive side of that card is that it is a 10, and sometimes when that card comes up, it gives us permission to put down our load, to let go of something. I like that card paired with the Knight of Pentacles, because this shows us a put down one struggle and get moving in another direction, take up another goal. So sometimes that Ten of Wands, rather than feeling or implying something as painful as it looks, can imply that the struggle is over and it's time to be moving along in a new direction. We'll take one more card that gets a strong reaction from people new to the tarot, and that's the Hanged Man. Partly because of the posture on the card and partly because of the name of the card. This one has assumptions around it that aren't necessarily always so. So we could look at that card and say, well, what's the positive side of the Hanged Man? In that case, we are off the hook for taking responsibility. The Hanged Man might say that there's nothing we could do about a situation, and I always think of or get the puns around the Hanged Man card. Time to hang around, hang loose, hang it up. Those kinds of phrases come to mind with that card. So sometimes the positive aspect of that card is to relax into it, to not struggle like a fish on the hook. Just try to let go of the agenda and let whatever is going to evolve. So a card like the Hanged Man, really supported by something like the Two of Pentacles, keeping things loose, keeping things open, keeping our own personal will on the sidelines while we let the universe take care of whatever it's doing. It's really not our nature in Western culture to hold the both and solution open. Especially people in America, we like to make decisions. We like to say, this is right, this is wrong. We do this, we don't do that. This notion of good card, bad card partly comes from the way we're enculturated to think of there being a good choice and a bad choice, a right choice and a wrong choice. So really try to be aware of your consciousness around that when you pull your tarot cards. Each tarot card has 360 degrees of meaning, and to look at a card at face value sometimes is not the best option. So there is no such thing as a good card or a bad card. Keep your mind open and your cards will convey their wisdom to you in a much clearer way if we keep an open mind. Thanks for joining the Tarot Tip series. We'll see you next time.